This is J.G. Hertzner. You're listening to NX 7062 Podcast.
Yes, you are. It is time for the NX 7062 Podcast. Good evening, everybody out there in YouTube land and Facebook land. I do simulcast. I love saying that. Simulcast. I do simulcast on Facebook. It is another wonderful Monday evening in the beautiful state of New Jersey. Hope everybody out there had a good weekend. I had a really good weekend. In fact, the reason that I started a few seconds late, I'm going to name drop, is because I was just texting with Wesley Ure, who I saw with the rest of the cast of Land of the Lost this weekend. And I was just talking to him because I just had to tell him something. What the heck, right? And I also wanted to say how happy I was that he and the rest of the crew made it back home safe and sound. They're actually going to be really busy. They have another thing this weekend. It's actually, I think it's a mall signing, if I remember correctly. But if you go to the Land of the Lost fan pages, any of them, or Wesley Ure's fan page, hey, Robert, you'll get all. Check the volume. Thank you, Robert. Really haven't touched anything since the last time, but we'll take a break from my chit-chatting. Oh, let's see. Robert, is this any better? Because according to everything here, it's picking up the mic okay. So let me know if this is any better, please. And we'll try this again. Hello. Hey, Travis, how are you? So glad you could join us tonight. Good to see you. So, Travis, let me know if you can hear me. Robert says he can't hear me. So I just double checked everything on my end and it looks good. So, anyway, having another set of ears wouldn't hurt to confirm. So I was just chatting with Wesley and he's good. He's home safe and sound and ready for the next signing up in Seattle. So check out the Wesley Ure fan page or any of the Land of Lost fan pages. And if you are in the Washington area and you are a fan of Land of the Lost, thanks, Travis. If you're a fan of Land of the Lost the way I am, then please, 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 please. Oh, forgot my water bottle tonight. Please, please, please go check them out because they are so much fun. Wesley, Kathy, and Phil, they are some of my favorite people. Even at a Star Trek convention with all the Star Trek people, I always make a point. Of hanging out with them a lot. Robert, I seriously, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, sweetheart, because Travis can hear me, and honestly, when I turn up the volume on my mic, it gets really, as we say in the recording industry, really hot, which means the volume's like really loud and blows people out of the water. So anyway, so here we go. What else is going on besides the fact that I had an incredible weekend just hanging out? I got to meet Melissa Gilbert and Mindy Cohn, which was really cool. So that Mindy was Natalie in Facts of Life. And if you don't know, Melissa Gilbert was Laura Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie. Really quick, that's the other nice thing about hanging out with the Land of the Lost crew. They have a raft that they take pictures in, like you're falling down the waterfall, which is an event in and of itself. And a lot of celebrities like to take pictures with them in those rafts. Okay, so what else is going on out in the world? I saw a really interesting Facebook post today. Was it today or yesterday? I think it was today. And I almost replied to it, but I decided I really didn't want to get into the debate. And a lot of other people were pretty much saying the same thing I was saying. It was on an Enterprise fan page, and the person was talking about how they started watching Enterprise because they liked Bakula. Can't fault you there. And they really liked T'Pol. And then they proceeded to bash the rest of the crew. I like Enterprise because Archer and T'Pol, but everybody else sucked, is basically, they tore apart everybody. And you know how much it took for me not to defend Trip and Malcolm. But I didn't because, like I said, I try really hard not to get in the middle of those kinds of debates. But I thought to myself, and other people asked this question, they're like, how can you say you like Enterprise if literally every other person on the show outside of Archer and T'Pol annoy you. Now granted, oh, hello, everybody. That's General Zod. He's my new cat that I adopted. I really wasn't expecting him to come in here tonight. He hasn't been here that long. This is his first foray out of my guest room. So anyway, that's General Zod, everybody. I don't know if he's gonna sit right here. I don't know if he's gonna try and come up. He is definitely a huge lap cat. Anyway, so I was thinking to myself, how can you say you like a series if you only like 2 of the characters? Granted, there were some Archer to Paul centric episodes, but it's an ensemble, so you're gonna have to deal with everybody else. So I don't understand it, because I look at it where I will tell you that I don't like Voyager, but I do like some of the characters, but I don't like Voyager. So I would sooner say that. I would sooner acknowledge that there are characters I like, but as a whole, I'm not a fan of the series. And I would think if you don't like any of the other characters, how can you call yourself a fan of the series? But again, I'm not somebody that's going to sit here and tell you exactly how to express your fandom. That was just, that's just really weird. See, and I agree with you, Robert. Every one of the characters is what made Enterprise so great. They didn't even like Phlox. How can you not like missing that? Oh, there he is. How can you not like Phlox? Seriously, Phlox. Oh my God, he's my favorite Doctor. Out of all of them. Do you want to try and come up? Let me see if he'll let me lift him up. Oh, he will. Come here. Everybody, this is General Zod. I just adopted him from the same person that got me Reed. And like I said, this is his very first foray out into the house outside of the guest room that he's been hiding in the bed under. I told him where I'd be. It was so funny. I'm like, all right, if you want to come next door, that's where I'll be. So he braved the other cats, because right now he's incredibly comfortable with me. He's just not comfortable with basically anybody else in the house. He's still hissing. All right, what does Travis have to say? Thank you, Travis. I thought he was too. I have a favorite Enterprise character, but yeah, exactly. I mean, we all have favorite characters, but how can you sit there and say you don't like most of the cast and you still like the show? Because the show's anyway. And so I just kind of wanted to get your guys' take on it. Like I said, I would never, ever, 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 ever tell anybody how to appreciate their fandom or what shows to be a fan of. It just baffles my mind when you're going to sit there and say things like, oh yeah, I only like these 2 characters, but I like the show. But everybody else is annoying. But whatever floats your boat. I just wanted to run it by you guys because I was a little confused. Are you going to steal my spotlight? Are you going to steal my spotlight, Zod? Are you? Because you're evil like that? I don't know. He's thinking about it. Okay, so Picard this week. The very first thing I noticed, besides the entire episode, but did you guys all notice that Elnor's hologram, I guess, was wearing one of those little holo emitters like they had in Voyager? I thought that was awesome. And something so subtle, but I'm like, wait a minute. That's so you can run around the ship and fight people. I thought that was a great way to bring Elnor back. Hopefully, when they get back to their own time, he will absolutely be there as well. But I just thought that was really cool. They were obviously borrowing from First Contact again, because the Borg Queen wanted the ship so she could go into space to shoot down Renee's ship. Sounded a lot like First Contact. In fact, I did hear the Borg Queen say, "Watch your futures end." It's actually one of my favorite lines from First Contact. So they're definitely borrowing, but that's okay. That's absolutely okay. We did get, let's see, you were spot on about Seven getting her Borg implants back. Actually, that's not. Oh, yeah, I did figure that she was going to get them back, but I thought she was going to get them back in the future. I thought when she went back to the future, she was going to get them back. And so I was a little off on the when. But yeah, she did end up getting them back. Slightly different. Hello, Faith. Happy Monday. But yeah, you're right. She did get her Borg implants back. We already got our question answered about Rios. Looks like he's going to go home. Still not 100% sure if the doctor's going to go with them, but it doesn't look like it right now. Unless they all have to go back to Talon's base of operations, because maybe she's going to be their ticket home after they fix everything. Let's see. I do have a burning question, and I don't know if you guys... Hello, Warlord. Hello. Thanks for joining us. It's so nice to see you here before the end. I know that there's a lot of other YouTube stuff going on, which is why I call myself the Seventh Rule After Party, because I know the Seventh Rule is wrapping up in probably the next 10 minutes or so. And of course I am the Shuttle Pod Show After Party as well. But it's always nice when I see faces that usually don't pop in till the end. So Warlord, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you being here. But here's the big question that I have that's been bugging me, I think, pretty much the whole time with these flashbacks is, where's Robert? He doesn't have to be front and center. I mean, I don't even care if they cast another kid, but at least mention him somewhere, acknowledge the fact that Picard was not an only child, because they're making it feel like he's an only child, and you can't retcon Robert. He had an episode, their death was a big deal in Generations, so you can't just pretend he doesn't exist. He's canon. He's pretty solidly in the canon. So I get that these flashbacks are centered very much on Picard, on Jean-Luc and his guilt over what happened to his mother because he let her out of her room. I understand that, but somebody somewhere could have at least said his name. That's all I'm saying. Somebody somewhere could have said something. So that bothers me a little bit. I'm also not exactly sure. Let's see. There's been some speculation that Robert is a bit older than we thought and at university or something. And that's entirely fine. I don't have a problem with that. Like I said, they don't even have to cast the character. It just bothers me that his name hasn't come up. And it makes me feel like he's like Picard's an only child. He has been mentioned. He's a lot older than Jean-Luc. Was he mentioned in Picard and I missed it, which is entirely possible. I admit that I don't. I know some people that watch with the subtitles, to make sure that they don't miss a line. I find subtitles incredibly distracting. I turn them off. I turn them on once on a Doctor. I think it would have complicated the memories to include them. Also, COVID's making everyone. No. I get that. I am not, like I said, don't cast him. I don't care if he shows up physically. I care that I feel like they haven't even mentioned him. Yeah, exactly. It's an omission because, yeah, especially with his mother dying, Jean-Luc, I don't know, somewhere at some point somebody could have just mentioned him. That's all I'm saying. All right. Zod, I know this is your first foray out, and I really hope you don't knock down the green screen, because I have a feeling that you'll just run, and that'll be the end of that. But anyway, okay. So, where was I? The Borg, the whole Borg twist. Well, hello, War Dog! Good to see you, my friend. I am not sure how I feel about the Borg, the new Borg. I think that I love the character. I love this Girardi Queen kind of melding. I think was really, really interesting. But doing the whole thing where the Borg go out and do good now, and I'm not sure how that's sitting with me. And I get it. I absolutely get it. You can't keep bringing the Borg back. We'll assimilate you, blah, blah, blah. It's getting very tired. So I understand that they wanted to do something different with the Borg. I'm just not sure how I feel about this twist on it. But we'll see. I do like what they're doing with Adam Sung. I think that's great. And like I said last week, I love the fact that they're making Data's dad look like the sane one of the bunch. But I mean, all the eugenics stuff, that's obviously starting with Adam. And Arik. in the Enterprise version. Obviously, it started back in 2024, but then Arc's like, oh, maybe I'll change to robotics, so, and artificial intelligence. So that little twist was the NX refit is canon. Wait, I'm missing things. Faith says, I do think in the grand scheme that it makes the rivalry and discontentment between brothers make more sense if all this happens while Robert was away and he resents Picard. This is an excellent point. Early episodes of Picard this season, they did mention that Robert was off at school, but I do agree it seemed like Jean-Luc was the only child in the house. Yeah, I just feel like yeah, like I said, they didn't need to make him a character. I just feel like he's been forgotten. I sort of like how they dug deeper with the Queen, but I think they went the wrong way. Yeah, I'm not sure I like this thing, because then what are the Borg now? They're going to be the Federation allies in a new future. What I'd like to see is that they go back to their time, and the Borg still, like, they tried to be good and then it failed. Like something like that. Like, this can't be like the perfect happy fairy tale ending. The Borg are now on our side. Like, I can't see that. I think that would be a disservice to the Borg. So I'm interested to see what happens. And, they are reuniting everybody for season 3. So I don't know. Maybe they'll all end up reuniting to take on the Borg one more time because it totally failed. What? Okay, Faith. Rather seeing them explore what happens if a queen goes lame. Or what if there are multiple hives, like with bees? What if 2 hives meet? Oh, that's interesting. Anytime somebody says bees in relation to Star Trek, I keep thinking about Star Trek Beyond, especially since I do play Fleet Command, because that Jayla's there. The bees. Remember that hive thing that tried to take over the station? Multiple Borg queens. All the Borg queens you've seen make more sense. Well, that, or, like Cybermen on Doctor Who, when they lose one cyber leader, they just upload the information and make a new cyber leader. I mean, that could just be how it works with the Borg. One queen falls and a new one rises kind of deal. Which would make sense, which would make just as much sense. Let's see. With the Borg queen off on her new mission, the timeline will be more screwed up than it is now. Yeah, well, this is true, because unless, what did she say at the end when she took I know she was taught before Girardi gave her the idea to be better Borg. She was talking about heading to the Delta Quadrant 400 years early. So is that what she's doing now? Or now that she's going to practice being a good Samaritan, did they jump back 400 years? But let's see what I mean, I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm reserving judgment right now. My eyebrow was raised because I'm not really sure I'm going to be a fan of this, but I'm willing to give it a chance and see where it goes. So we can all meet back here and figure out where it went next week. Moving on, Shuttlepod Show. I thought that last week it looked like there was going to be a Dominic Keating part 2. What we got was part 2 of viewer questions, which is great, and I'm very happy that they did more viewer questions, but I felt like, because Connor had, in the Dominic Keating thing, he had papers laying on his chest the entire time. And then at the very end of Shuttlepod Show, he said something about, oh, we'll take questions. And I thought, oh, great, that's what the paper is. He's got the questions printed out. No, and then they cut off. So, what happened to part 2 of the Keating thing, or was it really only one? I don't know. So let's see, right, it could work either way, if that's the case. Let's see. Okay, Travis read Regeneration was a TNG novel. It says that when a queen died, a drone goes into a cocoon and emerges. The cocoon is the new queen. Yeah, pretty much what I said. Yay! They stole that from Doctor Who. They just upload a new Cybermen. Now, granted, that's a novel, but it sounds like it was taken from canon, or however you want to look at it, but that sounds about right to me. So let's see. Okay, so the one thing I absolutely loved about Shuttlepod Show is before I even saw the second episode, this episode, somebody was all excited that they read her question out loud and said hi, so it was so cute because she was all excited, like, they read my question first, and I totally 100% get that. And then they moved on, and Jill Sheets, who follows me on Twitter, I think she watches the show every now and then. Hi, Jill. I know my hi isn't as cool as Dominic's, but hi, and congratulations for getting your question read on Shuttlepod Show. And they did say hi to her, so that was awesome. They remember her from conventions. So I think that's great. And I know that the fans absolutely love it. And of course, one of the questions that was really interesting, that I thought was really interesting, was somebody asked if they feel like now they have more fans than when the show started, like if their fan base has grown thanks to various other factors. And they absolutely said yes. And they think, the pandemic absolutely helped, I'm sure. And the fact that they were available on Netflix. That's actually, I watched Enterprise when it came out. I was all about Enterprise in the early 2000s, but I did a rewatch starting back in 2016, and that's where I snagged it off of Netflix. And I watched it. You can come here if you want. I don't know if you guys can hear, because I don't know how much this microphone picks up, but somebody's on the other side of the green screen meowing. So I am really bad. I don't binge watch. To me, I think 3 episodes is my limit. So I actually got my Blu-rays before I actually finished the rewatch on Netflix. And then I watched Inner Mirror Darkly and Terror Prime and Demons, and then I started again. I can't watch These Are the Voyages. I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can. What else happened? Oh, let's see. So one of the other really cool questions that somebody asked was about whether Connor and Dominic brought some of themselves into their characters. They just have to figure out how to walk past the green screen, because the green screen goes all the way to the ground. I guess you weren't here. My new guy, General Zod, was here for a minute or two, but I think he went on the other side, and now he's not sure if he wants to come back. Anyway, and so both Connor and Dominic absolutely said that they had bits of themselves into the characters. And again, I don't want to spoil too much because it was a good watch. But it also reminded me of a conversation or a question somebody asked Denise Crosby when I was holding the microphones for the Q&As for Creation in New Jersey back in 2017. And somebody said something to Denise about losing yourself and not, losing yourself in a character. And Denise's answer was basically the same. You don't lose yourself. You find that common ground. You find something of yourself in the character, and you let that something come through in your character. And that's how you do it. And that was Denise's answer. And then the guy started debating her because he'd done community theater, but she was a consummate professional, and gave him a really great, solid, like, she answered it so perfectly and so professionally and so politely. And when I got a chance to meet her on the cruise, I said to her, I don't know if you remember back in 2017, blah, blah, blah. She goes, yeah, I do. She goes, you really like, I said, I thought your answer was great. I thought you handled it perfectly. And she said something like, it's a good thing it wasn't Marina, because Marina wouldn't have been as polite. Marina has a mouth, and she's great, and she's open, and she would have put that guy in his place in a completely different style. So, yeah, and I agree. I mean, I don't act professionally the way that obviously Connor and Dominic and Denise Crosby do, but it's pretty common for an actor to say that there's a little something of themselves in each character. Now I'm sure Sir Anthony Hopkins is not going to tell you he's ever eaten somebody's, kidneys with a side of, or liver, whatever it was, with a side of fava beans and a nice Chianti. But, I'm sure he found something about Hannibal to, that he could drop himself into. Let's see. And actually, the answer to that Connor, like the last thing Connor said on that is they cast you, which is exactly right. They didn't cast Malcolm Reed or Charles Tucker. They cast Connor Trinneer and Dominic Keating. So obviously there was something about those actors that they liked and how they portrayed those characters. So yeah, they cast the actors, which means the actors were bringing something unique of themselves with the character, because obviously when you audition, you've got how many other people trying to be the same person. So it wasn't the lines, it's not the lines on the page, it's not the character per se that gets you the role. It's your interpretation of the character, and how you interpret a character is going to come from who you are personally. Thank you. Was liver with a side of fava beans. Yeah, I can't do the, but I knew it was. I thought it was. I couldn't remember. Thank you, because I wasn't 100% sure which organ it was. Thanks, Word Dog. The only issue I had with this episode was it felt rushed. The edits, like you could hear the edits, it sounded like they were getting cut off to answer the question. Like the answers to the questions were getting cut off so that they could move on to the next one. That's what I heard in the editing. And I get it. They keep their shows pretty tight. Their shows are an hour or so long, or however long. But, and I used to be like that. I used to be a real stickler for, oh my God, like must end on time. And I know a lot of people do that, and I respect that. But I just feel like the way my show goes, like right now, my shows are never going to be less than half an hour. An hour when I'm by myself is pretty good. And then if I have somebody on with me, I don't limit them. I really don't, because I feel like I don't like ending conversations. I feel like letting conversations end themselves, because if you've watched any of my interview shows, it's very rare that it's an awkward end. I always feel like there will always be that natural end point if you just let a conversation go organically. And we all know I'm big on the organics. So I don't keep myself to a really tight end unless a guest tells me that they need to be done. Like Mohammed has come on and said he wants to be done by 10:30. So I like to do. And when it's natural, don't cut good content for the sake of time. Exactly. Or yeah. And I mean, and if you do still want to keep your show to an hour, then maybe ask one last question and then make that an extra somewhere. You know, maybe for your patrons, or just like a bonus feature that you put up, you know, a week later there, or something like that. But yeah, when you start cutting for content, it's personal opinion. Like I said, I could end this in the next 2 minutes, but then we wouldn't even get to the main topic at hand, which is going to be Captain Pike, which we were about to move into. But yeah, that's the only thing about this show. It just seemed very cut and very, like, we need to make this into, like, exactly, like, it has to fit. And you know what? If it goes, like, if one show goes 10 minutes over, let it go 10 minutes over. You know, it's YouTube. It's not broadcast television. I mean, that's why movies are all, you know, no movie in, you know, when you pay to go to see a movie in the theater, it's whatever time it finishes, and it's been edited to what makes the most sense to tell your story, not because you want it to be 2 minutes or 2 hours and 15 minutes on the nose. So let's talk about Captain Pike. So Captain Pike, his first appearance, as we all know, was The Cage, which we all know by now, was the pilot that never aired officially. You can find it now. It is part of streaming. Exactly. Since Peter Jackson, there are no more time rules. Absolutely good point, Faith. So Captain Pike's first appearance was The Cage, which was the original pilot that got nixed by NBC. What some of you may not have known, and I found this out from Chris Hunter himself, who's Jeff Hunter's son. Jeff Hunter was the first actor to ever play Captain Pike. Jeff was actually asked to come back when Gene Roddenberry got the green light for the second pilot, the unheard of second pilot. He was supposed to, they asked him to come back, but his wife was worried about him getting typecast. So she's the one that talked him out of it. So I hope William Shatner he died in 1969. So obviously Shatner didn't know how far this was going to be going. But if he had survived, Shatner owed him at least a steak dinner at some point or once a year. So let's see. Okay. So the cage happened. Nobody saw it. Now we've got Star Trek the way we all know it. The only other person, Majel Barrett, moved over, but she became Nurse Chapel. She was the original number one. And Spock moved over, and he was still First Officer Spock. Then we get to season 1 of Star Trek, episodes 11 and 12. And Gene Roddenberry is a genius. He has got this episode sitting up on a shelf nobody's ever seen. And now that he's got Star Trek and everybody's happy and it's moving along and it's got a couple, it's got some episodes under its belt, he decides he's going to take the cage and use it. In the 2-part episode, The Menagerie, which I actually never really liked The Menagerie. I'd rather just sit and watch The Cage from beginning to end than watch The Menagerie. Maybe because I understand that the cage was just kind of chopped in there. It was a brilliant idea, but I'd rather just sit and watch The Cage as its own episode. And this is something that I didn't know, again, until I talked to Chris Hunter. I thought that Jeff Hunter had passed away before The Menagerie came along. That's not true. They asked him to come and play Captain Pike in the chair, but he was unavailable. I think Chris said he was in Europe. He was unavailable. He was shooting something else. So Sean Kenny is the guy in the chair under all the prosthetic makeup doing the beeping lights. And then Jeff Hunter's appearance is just in the cage on the screen. So we've got Captain Pike. And so now everybody knows that he was the captain of the Enterprise prior to Kirk. And we know what happened to him. And we also got to see how loyal Spock is to his captains, not just Kirk, that he felt the loyalty towards Pike as well. And then when I was doing my research on Pike, it turns out, and this is really interesting, there was the last animated series episode, which was called The Counterclock Incident, which had now Commodore April, who was the first captain of the NCC 1701, first captain of that Enterprise. He was in this episode. The whole episode was based on bringing him to Babel because he was an ambassador as Commodore. He was an ambassador at large. I watched the episode today. And they were bringing him to Babel because he had reached retirement age. So this was actually a little, again, because Star Trek always likes to play messages and have social commentary. He was being forced to retire. So this little last episode of TAS was actually a commentary on forced retirement of people who are still able-bodied and able to perform their jobs. And it said on Memory Alpha that it mentioned that Captain Pike was April's first officer. So I thought, oh, well then let's watch the episode because it was listed, that information was under the listing for the episode. I didn't see it in the episode. But what I did love about the episode was that James Doohan, besides being Scotty, was also the voice of Commodore April, and Majel Barrett was the voice of his wife. Well, hello, Linda. Thanks so much. Good to see you. Hey, and thank you for joining the live chat. Or as War Dog is fond of calling it, Chat Pack 2.0, because that's what we are. We are the 7th Rule and Shuttle Pod show after parties because I take place after both of them. Good to see you, Linda. Thanks so much for joining us. Really love that you're here. So we've got Pike in the cage. We've got Pike in TAS, which is great because it just supposedly in TAS, but not really. I don't know why that listing was in Memory Alpha. But we got to find out about April. They mentioned Captain April. But then if we go to J.J. Abrams, say what you want about J.J. Abrams, he also brought us he's the first one that brought us a modern day Captain Pike, who was played by Bruce Greenwood, who I just watched in an episode of The Resident, which Connor Trinneer did an episode. Was it The Resident or was it one of the other medical dramas I watched? Might have been one of the other medical dramas. Anyway, Connor Trinneer did a medical drama 2 years ago. I don't know. Go look on his IMDb page because I can't think of it right now. Anyway, Bruce Greenwood played Captain Pike in both Star Trek 2009 and Star Trek Into Darkness. And the one thing I liked about the comment on fate, there's always commentary on fate and things, or as Doctor Who likes to say, a fixed point in time, is that by the end, so in the alternate universe, Captain Pike is the one that talks Kirk into going to Starfleet Academy, because Kirk's life took a very different trajectory. Because for anybody that's seen the J.J. Abrams movies, we all know that instead of being the influence of Kirk's life, his father died saving him and his mother in the USS Kelvin and sacrificed himself. So Kirk in the Kelvin timeline never had the father, and Pike, became the father figure that got him to sign up for Starfleet Academy. And then by the end, Pike was still captain of the Enterprise while Kirk was going through the Academy. And then, for those of you that didn't see, Pike still ends up in a wheelchair. Something completely different. He still was working. He still saved his crew. It was still very heroic what put him in the wheelchair, but it was completely different. It was because of the Romulan that came through the time warp along with Spock, but he still ended up in a wheelchair. And then in Into Darkness, he was killed in Khan's attack on Starfleet headquarters. Which, again, we are not here to debate the veracity of the Kelvin timeline. I am just talking about how Pike has ended up in our lives in any way, shape, and form. So and that was actually the most we saw of Pike up until Enterprise. Well, hello, Jerry. Let's see. Didn't Nichelle Nichols and George Takei voice guest characters in the animated series that were different races from both of those actors? Also, I thought James Doohan, in addition to April, voiced Native American officer in that episode. There was no Native American. Hey, Jerry. Yes, Nichelle and George, they all kind of did double and triple duty. They all had different character references. There was no Native American character in that episode. There was that other, they didn't have Chekhov. They had that other helmsman and the alien with like 4 arms, I think, and I never remember his name, and I don't know who voiced him. But yes, everybody. Nichelle did an extra voice in that episode. George might have, like I said, I watched it for the first time today in a long time. I actually remembered it while I was watching it. It rang some bells from the last time that I've seen it. God knows how long ago that was. The other thing too is you have to go on IMDb for that information because it's not in the credits. They don't list who else these guys voiced. So, but you're absolutely right, Jerry. They all do play double and triple duty in these episodes. Obviously, it saved money back then to get different to not have to go out and get different voice actors and just use the same people. So I get it. Also, I do love the soundtrack to the Filmation stuff because that music always has you on the edge of your seat. Like as a little kid, even now as an adult, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? I love that music. I did actually watch the TNG Filmation thing. That music is so great, and it fits whether it's TNG or or the original series. So, from moving on from J.J. Abrams' interpretation of Captain Pike, Discovery reintroduced us to Captain Pike back in the very beginning of the second season, which was awesome. I think one of my favorite first season moments was the very end of the season when they were hailed by a ship and the comm officer said, "It's the Enterprise," and it's like dun dun dun, and it's done. and then you had to wait till the second season. And I will have Chris Hunter on at some point after Strange New Worlds, because he definitely wants to talk about it. But Chris and I talked when my podcast was audio only back in the day about Anson taking over the role that his father created. And we both agreed Anson Mount was a perfect choice. I am really excited to see him flesh out Pike way more than anything else, anything that's gone before him, obviously. We are getting a Captain April or Admiral April. I don't remember if I read what his rank's going to be, but they are introducing April as a character. They already they didn't introduce him in Discovery, but he did get a mention in Discovery. I still remember when Saru was looking up in the first season, he wanted to see a list of like exceptional captains or something, or Starfleet's best captains. April was one, Archer was one. I don't remember who anybody else was because I didn't care because Archer. Linda's got some anime. They wouldn't hire Walter to voice act, but he did write the giant Spock episode. There you go. Okay. Yes, actually, after Trek, I'm going to bring this back around to what I started the evening talking about, Land of the Lost. Walter Koenig actually did go on to write for other things. He wrote a lot. He wrote episodes for Land of the Lost, and in fact, for all of you Land of the Lost fans out there, the Sleestack. They introduced Enoch, who was the one Sleestack that could communicate, that could talk. Walter Koenig wrote that episode. Walter Koenig is responsible for Enoch. So all you Land of the Lost, there's some trivia for you. I'm wondering why they have Pike so gray. Pretty sure Anson's not that gray. Was Pike one? Thanks, Travis. Like I said, I saw Archer, and then who cared about anybody else? Let's see. Pike. I mean, he wasn't gray in the cage. This takes place after the cage. Anson's been pretty salt and pepper. I don't obviously know if that's his natural hair color, but I will tell you that he has that. I've met him and I've seen recent pics, and he is pretty salt and pepper. I don't know if they enhanced it. I don't know if they thought making him more gray would make him more captainish. I don't know. That's obviously not a thing. But you know, this show is pretty much thanks to the fans. The fans really petitioned to have this spinoff. I mean, with everything else they had in the works, nobody else, you know, everybody wanted to see, and that's a tribute to Pike becoming a fan favorite, Anson Mount, and Ethan Peck, and Rebecca Romaine, all of them doing such amazing jobs to bring these characters to life that people only knew from, say, the novels, or knew from the couple of episodes, you know, from one episode. I mean, look at it. One episode, technically. And, well, this is true, but you know what? Aesthetically, who knows what people are thinking behind that are writing. They want, I don't know. Yeah, he does. Like I said, Travis, he's definitely salt and pepper, but Linda thinks that he's too salt compared to pepper because he does look pretty gray. And I have actually talked to people that went to the premiere in New York this weekend. Like I said, I went to Chiller. I didn't go to New York. I only was able to do one thing this weekend. I picked Chiller because I'm going to see Strange New Worlds in a couple days. So it just made more sense to go see my friends than do something. Not to say that it wouldn't have been cool to see it, and it was the first 2 episodes. My one friend that reviewed it without any spoilers said the first episode was better than the second. That's obviously his opinion. I guess in a way I'm kind of glad that I didn't go, because for both Discovery and Picard, the last 2 premieres, the virtual ones where we got to sit at home and stream them before everybody else, I've been to both of those, and yeah, it's awesome that they send you 2 episodes, but then that puts me waiting 3 weeks before I get a new episode. So I'm kind of looking forward to the premiere on the 5th, and then on the 12th being able to see a new episode instead of having to wait. So I'm actually, maybe it's the Miracle Whip. So I'm actually really kind of looking forward to not having to wait so long, that I get new episodes starting on the 5th and I don't have to wait because I've seen them both already, because I don't do rewatches that early. So I am really, well, look who's here. Hello, Lasso, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that don't know, Magic Lasso is one of my favorite comic book heroes. And you all need to follow Lasso. I always give him a nice little shout out. You all need to follow the one and only Magic Lasso on YouTube. If you have any interest in the comic book realm, he is your go-to. He is my personal comic book guru, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind being yours. There is a pandemic, and he had a baby, so maybe it's more naturally gray now. That is also very, very true. Anytime. Thanks for showing up and showing your support. Considering the fact you've only ever seen 3 episodes of Star Trek in your life, I love the fact that you come here just about every week. That's a good point. Though I do rewatch twice in the first week sometimes, just because. I don't pay attention like I should with the kids. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. And like I said, I am such a multitasker. I will sit at my computer and my laptop, and I'll play on my laptop, and I'll be streaming something, and then I'll end up rewinding, or watching something. I'll end up rewinding because I missed something. Star Trek, I don't. That's one of the very few shows that gets my full attention. Always put the phone down, watch it. And then, like I said, I know friends that turn on closed captioning so they don't miss anything. I will tell, and I was going to tell you this, but now that we're pretty much wrapped up on the Pike thing, there was a Doctor Who. I guess it's the next episode is Jodie Whittaker's regeneration. So this was like she did like an Easter special, and at one point she jumped from one pirate ship to another pirate ship, and I could barely make out what she said. And I thought she said Geronimo, but I didn't want to assume, so I actually rewound it, turned on the closed captioning, played it, saw that she did say Geronimo, haha, Matt Smith reference, turned off the closed captioning. Let's see, I also do it with Nathan Fillion. Yes, Nathan Fillion is awesome. I don't know if anybody out there watches Resident Alien with Alan Tudyk, who is freaking phenomenal, but what I love about 90% of what Alan Tudyk does when it comes to sci-fi, Nathan Fillion follows in some way. And he did end up for a little while in Resident Alien. And Resident Alien is really good. It's on Sci-Fi. New episodes this summer. If you haven't watched it, find it and stream it. I forget. I want to say Peacock. I want to say Sci-Fi is part of like NBC Universal, but I'm not 100% sure. And yes, Nathan Fillion was the voice of Steve Trevor once. Oh, what? Oh, wait. Because I really want to impress Magic Lasso. I've actually seen that animated DC movie a couple of times. I've seen that one. It's an animated Wonder Woman movie, and I've seen it. I just can't remember the title of it. Exactly. They are very reciprocal. And anybody that hasn't watched Firefly, you are missing out on some of the best 12 hours of science fiction. They only made 12 episodes. A, it's Joss Whedon. B, it's Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk and Gina Torres. It's a little tiny Buffy Angel reunion because Gina was in Angel and Nathan Fillion was in Buffy. And Adam Baldwin's in it, and it's amazing. And it's literally only 12 episodes. Some people can knock out half of that in a day binging. Not me, but I highly recommend it. Oh, maybe it is 13. I thought it was only 12. Maybe it is 13. Or is it 12 in the movie? Is it 12 in Serenity? Or is it 13? I don't know. Let's go figure this out. But anyway, so Anson Mount, like I said, I will have Chris Hunter on. Chris got invited to San Diego Comic-Con to go meet Anson after CBS got wind of him being on my show, saying that Anson is going to be a great addition to, or a great actor to portray his father's role, to fill his father's shoes. Those are the words I'm looking for. See, I can't multitask well, let's see. I am actually multitasking. Episode guide. Come on. Oh, Faith, we were both wrong. It's 14. Yeah, 14 episodes. Nathan Fillion was in Buffy. He played the evil preacher in one of the he's the one that poked out Xander's eye in one of the later seasons. He was the evil corrupt preacher that was working with the First, or that goddess chick. Is that what she called herself? The First? Yeah, I think that's what she called herself. It's been a while since I've watched those later episodes. But yeah, he was the evil preacher guy, and at one point, the Scooby Gang was fighting him, and he got a hold of Xander, and he said something about seeing, and he popped out one of Xander's eyes with his thumb. So, there you go. Dominic Keating was also in Buffy, in case anybody has never heard me say that. He was in the episode called Helpless. But yeah, I came into Buffy late, actually. A friend of mine, that was him. Geez, I didn't, yeah, that was him. That's the thing about Joss. Joss is really good about, he was very loyal to the people that he worked with. And I know that there's been a lot said about him. Did not know that. A lot of actors go through that whole daytime thing, which is great. I mean, it's steady work. So, I mean, Christopher Reeve got one of his first gigs was on a soap. Edge of Tomorrow, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was Edge of Tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, Joss is a jerk, from what I understand. He mistreated a lot of his actors. Charisma Carpenter, if you look her up on Twitter, she's had a lot to say about it. So this isn't anything one way or the other. It's just Joss tends to move his actors from one series to another. There's a loyalty there that I admired. But then again, maybe it was just there were certain people that fucking put up with him. Nathan was in a comedy show, wasn't he? Well, he did Castle. He's doing The Rookie. Alan was in what was it called? Suburbia or Suburban or something with oh god, now I can't remember his name, and I absolutely love him. Oh, I feel terrible. The Suburbs. I think it was called The Suburbs. Oh my god. This is going to kill me. And you know, the minute I hit end broadcast, I'm going to think of this actor. Jeremy Sisto. That's who, from 6 Feet Under. Love Jeremy Sisto. Nathan did Con Men, which was like a streaming thing, which I think was a comedy. Can't think of like if you're talking like sitcom weekly thing, Travis, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. That is not to say that he wasn't, but I am not going back on IMDb because you can see I can't think and research on IMDb at the same time. I get tongue-tied. But so who else is looking forward to Pike? Are you thinking of Dr. Horrible? Oh, maybe he is. I don't know, Faith. You go, girl, because I have no idea. So we've got 2 guys, a girl, and a pizza place. Oh, it's not ringing any bells for me. So we've got Strange New Worlds. We still got Picard to finish up, so that is going to be our Star Trek coming up this week. Let's see what else. Doctor Strange is coming out on May 6th. I am really looking forward to that. And I can say this too, because somebody posted that they on Facebook about like they repainted an entire subway station for this, and because H. John Benjamin was in a short trek, my least favorite short trek, but Bob's Burgers movie is coming out in May. It's coming out at the end of this month, I think. Bob's Burger movie's coming out. I love Bob's Burgers. I love H. John Benjamin. So that's coming up. So we are getting into summer movie season. Just so you guys know, I realized this is the very first May episode, and I usually wrap my season the end of May. So we may only have a few more live episodes left to hang out with, as I prep for a lot of stuff that's happening over the summer, including obviously my annual trip to Las Vegas. So please start thinking now about all of your questions that you want to ask for Vegas, because hopefully, once again, I will be able to get some, if not all, answered. If Travis, if you're still out there and you've thought of something new to ask Nicole DeBoer, they just announced Nicole for Vegas. So I will, of course, try and get that answered. Again, I cannot make any promises. It always depends on availability, how people feel, and whether or not they want to take the time to sit down and talk. And this is one day shorter this time, so it's one less day for them to earn their money. And we all know rule number one of a convention is that it is a job. The actors are there to make money. That is part of what they do. So I do not interfere with that. And if I am told no, I am told no. So, but please keep in mind that I will ask those questions. So anybody that doesn't get their questions answered on the Shuttle Pod show, give them to me and I'll see if I can get them answered for you. If the guys are willing to go on another podcast that's not their own and answer a couple questions. So save a couple for me and I'll see if I can get them answered. So let's see. I guess that's pretty much it. Next week's show, we're going to be talking about, obviously, the premiere of Strange New Worlds. I think if Picard's wrapping, which I have a feeling it is, we'll talk about that. We're always going to talk about the week's Shuttle Pod show, because that is something that I watch religiously every week, because it's so good, and because I really do need to get in the habit of watching other people's stuff. So stay tuned to me on all of my socials for what is coming up next. I hope you all have an absolute great week. Thank you, absolutely everybody, for joining me. I would not be doing this if you guys weren't here to support me. I appreciate every single one of you. War Dog, they've been on a couple of others and they love you. Oh, War Dog, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. It means a lot. That was very sweet. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you. You too, Robert. All right. You guys can go chat about Firefly. That's never a bad idea. Okay. So thank you guys and have a great week. And I will see you all soon. And until then, please always live long and prosper.
This is Nicole DeBoer, and you've been listening to the NX7062 podcast.